Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones Special Edition.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Jeff. I was watching the look on your face as I said Special Edition.
Well, it sounded a little scary.
It is scary. The darkness has fallen. Oh, terrible stuff.
Oh, well, spoilers.
Dark times upon us. So here, we're going to talk about Avengers Infinity War, which we had the pleasure of seeing over this weekend. And we just really wanted to talk about it, but then we figured why not record it like we do. Mm-hmm. And we still are going to be talking about Westworld later tonight, like we also do. So that'll be a normal Pod of Thrones. But for now, I know a lot of the nerds of the world have been watching and talking about Infinity War. In fact, there was actually a message. So Lionheart, our faithful listener, he sent a message before we went to go see Infinity War about Infinity War. So I had to just swipe that away and pretend like it didn't exist. So it's very, very short and sort of Game of Thrones-y. But okay, so there are going to be a lot of spoilers anyway, right? We agree on that?
Agreed.
Okay,
I already said it.
We're going to talk about what we love about the movie. Lionheart sends a message that says, if you watched Avengers Infinity War, you'll appreciate those following lines. Tyrion Lannister showed up to send Thanos his regards.
Yay!
Which he did. And Arya Stark called. She said she finished a new list and gave it to Thanos.
Is there anything else?
No, that was it. It was
okay,
much shorter,
so what's
much shorter
the shopping
than I expected.
list? Explain the shopping list.
Thanos?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a list of all his stones that he needs.
Oh, it's the stones. Okay, I thought you meant like people to kill.
Well, or all the people he was going to kill, but
he didn't have a list. It was just worlds.
A little more vast. Yeah. Thanos.
He's like the world eater.
I'm a little conflicted about him. Because...
What? Because he has a soul?
He's not totally wrong.
Right. He's right.
He's kind of right. I mean, yeah. There's maybe a big difference between violently murdering half of Gamora's planet, which we saw in the movie.
Right. That was much more violent than
than just winking people out of existence.
Snapping.
Right. And yeah, I mean, the universe has finite resources and the universe has a lot of people and he's bringing balance. So if you noticed on Twitter, and then if you click the link and went to potofthrones.com, I had written up a little Infinity War pre-show talking about some of the bigger concepts that we were going to be seeing, but we didn't really know anything about Thanos, except he was Gamora and Nebula's dad.
Right. And he was just a big dude.
And he's a big dude, and he was
floats
really
in a chair on a rock in the middle of space.
He's got a hell of a chair, and he's got a glove, and he wants those stones.
The glove is silly looking.
And the quest for the stones doesn't make total sense because he gave one of those stones away to Loki in a magic stick.
Right, that was a little strange.
It's like the power of all the universe. You're just going to give it away, and then later on be like, hey, I needed that after all.
Right.
Kind of silly.
Maybe that wasn't planned properly.
Yeah.
Maybe that wasn't planned writing.
I'm really not sure what his plan was there. Maybe he just didn't think he would fail and he would take the stick back after. I don't know. Or in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, he sends Ronan the Accuser to go get the Power Stone, when he could have just gone and gotten it himself. Or sent his actual awesome, badass lieutenants.
Right. When, at that moment when, in the beginning of the movie, when Loki is watching Thor get tortured, and then he stops him, I started to think, well, I couldn't connect how this could have already happened before. He was already loyal to him. And now he's acting like this is all brand new. Or
brand new?
You know,
well,
it was a little confusing for me. I was kind of like, well, maybe this is a time thing and this like happened. You know, I started thinking maybe I was in this weird time loop thanks to Westeros and
maybe they never really met face to face before, since Thanos wasn't really big on getting out of his chair until recently.
Maybe.
That's
he just got the orders from the
That's a good question.
Generals and stuff.
So why don't we start there? Loki, Thor, It's how the movie begins. It begins where Ragnarok left off, which was nice. Some
Right,
continuity
that was
there.
nice.
Didn't leave us hanging like a lot of the shows we watch will often do, especially Walking Dead. So Loki died. Heimdall died. That made me sadder.
Yeah.
Heimdall was awesome. But I know our girls, especially your oldest daughter.
She loves Loki.
She is going to be decimated by Loki getting choked out.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
She is not going to like that
She's
at
going
all.
to cry.
I don't know if she'll cry, but she'll be mad.
She'll be, okay, fine. She might not cry. Did you
She
cry at
doesn't-
all during this movie?
No. There was nothing to cry about in this movie. It wasn't very emotional.
What about Thanos was crying. He was all emotional. Didn't you feel
Psh,
teary? No?
that
Okay.
man. I mean, if you can kill your own child, that is just like Stannis.
But he was this. Okay, so on the primer on the blog, I was mentioning sort of the general idea of what Thanos was all about in the comic books, the whole Infinity Gauntlet thing, which was he was trying to impress a girl. Her name was Mistress Death. Did you ever read this?
No.
You didn't even read it.
I don't think so.
Jeez. I spent all my time on stuff.
I only read parts of it. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was posted, and then I haven't had time since I found out it was posted to read it.
All right, fine. So Thanos was obsessed with this chick named Mistress Death, an incarnation of death.
Right? I remember looking at pictures of her with you.
And so his quest to restore what he would consider balance to the universe by making the universe half alive and half dead was in an attempt to get her attention, which he was really having a hard time getting.
Thanos?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was all about impressing a girl.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Basically. I mean,
Well,
I'm
that's
sure
kinda
he wouldn't he wouldn't have done it if he didn't believe in it in the first place.
But this was just a bonus.
But he's also like a nihilist, so like the whole universe can go rot for all he cares in theory, but instead he's not really trying to do that. He's trying to bring balance to the universe through.
Right. I mean, is he a good guy?
Well, I would say murdering half a planet actively, no. But his eventual plan didn't really seem that bad.
Okay, let's
So that's what Thanos is all about. So then we get to Loki. Loki dies. Most of Asgard dead. I don't know. We don't know if they all died because like the ship was broken up into chunks, and
right.
Asgardians are rather durable people.
So many questions. What's going to happen? Do you want to talk about theories at the end?
About like what'll happen next?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let's save that. So we got, but Thor gets away and Hulk gets away. Hulk tries to go toe to toe with Thanos and fails, which was really something to see.
If he had a tail, it would be between his legs, and he would be like running off whimpering.
Yeah.
He was kind of like broke. Hulk got broke.
It's pretty messed up. Like maybe Hulk was scared for the first time ever.
He was like, oh my God, I just got my ass kicked.
And he got his ass kicked by Thor in the last
Yeah.
movie, but not in the same kind of way. Not quite as brutal and, I don't know what's the right word. Definitive. Not definitive, but something like that. Concrete. I mean, it was pretty bad. Thanos delivered a serious.
There was no
solid beating.
challenge.
Right. But Heimdall summoned a gate to get Thor out. To get
that
Hulk
was
out of
interesting.
there. Yeah, it was a good last move for Heimdall. They were probably going to figure out eventually that he was still breathing. So
Sure.
at least he was able to do something before he died. But Thor also gets away because they just didn't bother killing him.
Right. Well, they were in the middle of that.
Well, yeah, but they walked away. Like the ship exploded and Thor was on board. So he just got launched into space.
Okay.
Which should have killed him. Would kill most people.
Of course, he's like half god.
His muscles are like
Crystalline.
finely woven steel.
It's right. That was an interesting comment.
Gamora kind of was impressed, I guess.
It's like armor. His skin is like armor. It's like the Hobbit shirt. Oh,
Mithril.
yes.
Yeah.
He's got mithril skin.
So that happened. And then Loki died. So Loki and Heimdall, but Heimdall was kind of a second banana anyway. But Loki was the first main major character that went out.
Right.
He didn't have his own movie, but he was big time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was like one of the top main characters.
There's probably no coming back from that death. So that, I'm just going to go through, I don't think we have the memory to go through this sequentially as it happened in the movie, but let's just talk briefly about the various arcs. So we had Hulk get to Earth, and through him we get Doctor Strange and Tony Stark together. Right?
Right.
So Hulk will not come back for the rest of the movie. That was kind of surprising, I guess I'll say. No?
Well, we saw him, a lot of him.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah. Oh.
Dr. Banner. Sorry.
Oh, see, I kind of like it.
You like him non-Hulky?
Yeah.
Well, I definitely like some variety.
More.
But, we still saw computer-generated Bruce Banner fighting because he was in the Hulkbuster armor rather than being Hulk.
Oh,
there's a big plot element to it. Hulk is scared,
right,
or something.
He's battling with his internal Hulk. Hulk is like hiding.
Now, I don't know if there's ever been any hint at Hulk like having mortality in the comics, but I do know that generally speaking, the more he gets beaten on, the angrier he gets, and that just makes him stronger and tougher.
Wouldn't that be an awesome superpower?
Thanos actually knocked him out, so yeah.
So that should make him stronger and tougher again, shouldn't it?
Well, like a temporary stronger, tougher. Like he just gets berserker mad, and then that just augments.
I thought you meant like it built.
No, not like permanent. It's not like experience points or anything.
Darn.
So we didn't see him for the rest of the movie. Done. We saw Bruce Banner fighting and talking.
I love Mark Ruffalo is my guy. He's like so awesome. And if you ever checked out his tweets, he's very liberal and just a really stand-up guy that's trying to tell people some things are wrong and this is why. And he's kind of right.
And kind of hunky.
He's hunky in a romantic,
right?
Kind of.
He's not hunky like a Hemsworth,
right?
Which right there sounds like a great T-shirt.
He's not unobtainable hunky.
Hunky like a Hemsworth. Right.
That's what makes him sexy.
Like you could go get him. You probably could.
I totally could go get him.
You flashing that
One
smile.
look at me.
Look, I'm not going to say anything against that because it could probably happen. All right. So we got Doctor Strange and Iron Man. Iron Man was continuing on an arc that to me seems like it's due for a tragic end. Right.
Of course. Of course. He's so in love with Gwyneth now.
Well, he's finally ready to settle down with Pepper Potts.
Pepper Potts, right. So they have this great relationship now, and he's like, I'm gonna love you. And
all right.
She's like, well, are you really done? And of course he gets a call right then.
Of course. What the fuck, though, was with Tony Stark's flip phone? Was that just jarringly weird, or was it just me?
I'm sure there's a purpose for it.
Smartphones exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We just saw Jessica Jones use one in the last couple episodes.
Maybe
some kid had one.
Maybe
and she
it's
picked
because
it
has like a lower level of technology that's not easy to track or trace. Or maybe it's, I don't know. I'm sure there's a total purpose for it.
Wait a second. Maybe there is a purpose for it. Was there something?
He got mad.
Shit.
He opened it up. He's like, ugh, flip phone.
Well, maybe there was something at the end of Civil War. Maybe it was a burner phone specifically for calling Steve Rogers. I have that now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't think about it for the whole 2.5 hours of that movie. Now that actually kind of sounds right.
I'm sure that's right.
I'm going to have to watch Civil War again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved this movie much more than Civil War.
Yeah, I
love this movie.
How does this one... You said Black Panther was your favorite Marvel movie so far. What do you think now?
No, Wonder Woman was... Oh, sorry.
No, Wonder Woman was not on that list of favorite Marvel movies.
I was thinking superhero movies.
Yeah.
I think this is my favorite now, although Black Panther's still up there.
I think Black Panther may have had a better storyline. I mean, it was pretty interesting and had a really interesting message about, well, lots of different things, isolationism among them, but this movie was so epic. It's hard to argue.
Right. And it just keeps you engaged the entire movie, every single moment. There was no time where I was like, oh, this is boring, you know? None of the scenes. Which
they've already said that the part 2 is going to be longer. So I think we might actually have to invest in some adult diapers.
No kidding, man.
I was really struggling through this one.
How does you get this giant soda? How are you not supposed to? We need to have a break in the middle of a movie. Let's all go to the lobby
and take ourselves a piss.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can lobby for that. Lobby for a trip to the lobby. We'll argue with the establishment. Because I don't think it's going to happen. But we've sat through 3-hour plus movies before.
We just can't have a giant soda.
But I love the Diet
We need
Coke.
to not do that.
All right. I'm sad. What were we talking about? I don't remember. Iron Man, burner phone. So I had said in my little write-up that... actually, I guess I didn't say anything about that. I said somewhere, maybe just to the kids or maybe to you earlier, but I was pretty sure Tony Stark wasn't going to make it out of this.
Yeah, you did. You've been saying that to me for a while. I
say Captain America, pretty likely. Thor, 50-50 shot. Because these are the oldest of the Marvel characters, and it's time to turn over to the new guard.
True. Yeah, you can't keep going with the same characters over and over.
But Tony Stark has specifically been going on this tragic downfall redemption plot line for a long time. And now
ever since he started.
He's on an upswing. He's in love with Pepper. Everything's going great. He's trying to convince her to have a kid or whatever the fuck.
Oh, that's right. They wanted a baby.
If watching Game of Thrones and Westworld and Walking Dead and fucking every other thing in the world besides a Marvel movie has taught me anything, it's that he has a death mark now.
Yeah.
Because he's happy.
Right.
So far, I'm wrong, but we're not done yet. We'll make our next movie predictions. Doctor Strange, he had a pretty big role to play this time around. That was nice. I enjoyed him. Did you?
Yes, much more than anything that I've seen him in yet.
You talking about just Cumberbatch in general?
Yes. Or no, any of the Doctor Strange stuff.
Well, he's had the one movie, and then he had the appearance in Ragnarok, and I don't think there's been much else. But yeah, I thought his part in this was much better than his Doctor Strange origin story.
Yes, he's much more likable now.
Yeah. He still has arrogance.
Yeah, but I think they either toned it down or they made him more funny to counter that.
Yeah.
Annoying arrogance.
Yeah. I liked him. I liked him very much.
I did too. He was better
watching
when
him
he was
fight
better.
Was very entertaining because it's different from like how anybody else fights.
It's magic fight.
Maybe Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
But hers is a little more straightforward. He gets to do all sorts of
creative
awesome hand
stuff.
gestures and footsteps and make sparkly things appear.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. At one point, he even did the warping reality mirror-y thing, just very, very, very briefly.
Right. And didn't he open a bunch of holes and like make a monster go to a different snowy place?
That was kind of awesome.
He should have just done that to everything.
Yes.
Put them out in the middle of the sea and let them sink.
Could have done that to Thanos, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why he didn't. You could have cut him in half from the look of it.
Well, then the movie would be over.
I know. It's too easy of an answer. But you could have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who else do we have in this movie? Captain America.
So everybody.
So Captain America, Black Widow, and Falcon, they were all grouped up together, and they intersected with Vision and Scarlet Witch. So one of the things I was saying to you on our way out of the movie was that Vision Scarlet Witch was one of my least favorite things in the movie. The love story. Not because I hate love stories, but how did you feel about it first?
Well, I mean, I believe they did have a thing starting in Civil War at Hawkeye's house.
No, it was at, you're thinking of,
what am I thinking?
Hulk? That was Avengers 2, and that was, that was Banner and Black Widow.
Well, but I feel like I've seen them start something.
No, yeah, they had a thing, might have been in Civil War, but not at the farm.
Okay.
That was at Avengers base, whatever that place is
right.
called.
So, I mean, we didn't get to see all of the evolution of the relationship, which is kind of annoying. And we're just supposed to believe in this strong relationship all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It was a little strange, but maybe she's just a compassionate person, and yeah, she likes him and she doesn't want him to die.
Well, that's fine. She shouldn't want any of these guys to die. I did have a really hard time with the epicness of their love story that I felt like I was supposed to be feeling.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't have any build-up, really. We saw them flirt a bit, and we knew that they were into each other. That's it.
I also feel like she was protecting him because he's supposed to be some kind of magnificent thing that can do magnificent things. But what can he do? He can't even fucking protect himself. What's so big about Vision?
That's another very good question. He tried using the Mind Stone a couple times to zap people with Mind Stone powers, and even that did not work against these Thanos bad guys. So the Infinity Stone, one of the 6 most powerful thingies in the universe, he blasts a dude with it, and the dude blocks it with his hammer. And the best I could come up with through the movie was that hammer was one of the dwarf forged weapons. I guess, maybe. So that could have made it strong enough to block one of those blasts, but reflect it back at Vision and hurt him more? I mean, come on. And also, he's made of vibranium. That's his body. So their weapons are also powerful enough to destroy vibranium, yet Black Panther came out okay. Captain America's shields at the end of the movie, those held up fine. Yeah. So I've got a few, I guess, characterization problems with the Vision and how they handled him.
Well, maybe when you mix vibranium with skin, it's not as effective.
So their whole big plot line was what we can do about the gem. He feels like Scarlet Witch can destroy the gem, but to do that, of course, would kill Vision, which I did say. I did say that on the blog. I said, if we saw this thing in the preview of, I don't know if you remember this from the Infinity War previews, but it was Vision down on the ground with someone jabbing a stick into his head, and he was going, ah!
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay. Because we saw that in the preview, that meant that wasn't how they were going to get the stone out of Vision's head.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer.
That's how those previews always go.
Anxious or that anxiety about maybe he's going to die. This is idea.
Yeah, like we knew he was going to get out of that scene alive, which was good because it was his first scene. At least he got to have a movie. But I did say Vision probably won't survive. I don't know where I said this. I don't know. I said something effective. Oh yeah. I said here, the Mind Stone was involved in his creation, and it was used in the creation of Ultron. It was this whole AI thing. Jarvis got pumped into it. So the Mind Stone itself is probably his CPU, his central processing unit. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then he probably can't live without it, which is in fact what we learned. Fine and dandy, but boy, it just took them forever to get to the conclusion of that plot.
Well, I mean, could he have lived? They thought maybe he could live without it. If they got it out, he might just have a brain and be normal.
Well, they were rerouting him. That's what Shuri was doing. It's the love story thing. I feel like if you've come to the realization that you could destroy one of the 6 things that Thanos is going to use to unmake half the universe, one person's life just doesn't quite compare.
Okay, well, could you kill me?
To save half the universe?
Yes.
Maybe. I mean, could you? Would you try to save me if it meant half the universe was going to die and I was probably going to die anyway? I guess maybe that's a big part of it. Is like, even the Hulk can't touch Thanos and even scratch him a little bit. And we see that later. It took 6 dudes like an hour of just nonstop fighting to cut his cheek.
Well, I mean, I would have just tried to kill Thanos some other way. I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem like they thought about very much alternative methods of...
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Again, would have made for a much shorter movie if they had come up with a way to kill Thanos. And, you've got to have it be 2 parts. But I just don't like it when our heroes are acting kind of dumb, I suppose. And Vision was ready to make the sacrifice because he's a logical creature. He didn't want to do it because he loves Scarlet Witch. Did they ever say I love you? Maybe at the very, very, very end?
He said I love you while he was dying.
Yeah, just at the very end. He loves Scarlet Witch. He doesn't want to die. Fine. But he knows that he's going to die anyway. So you might as well save half the universe. I guess that's the difference. Like, if you're going to die anyway, and then we're still going to lose half the universe, then yes, I suppose I'd be able to find some way of taking you out. They could have turned him off, just sent Vision into like a reboot cycle or something, and then killed the stone so he doesn't feel any pain.
Sure.
Because he felt pain when they tried pulling it out of his forehead.
He didn't seem to be in pain when she was doing what she was doing to him.
True.
The red sparkly stuff.
Scarlet energy? Question mark? I'm sure there's a name for it.
I was Scarlet Witch like 3 or 4 Halloweens ago when we first
good.
Civil War came out. I think.
There's no pictures of that Halloween out there in the world because I did not look good.
That was
that was when I was the Hood.
The Hood costume, yeah.
Yes. Which would still be too obscure for any Marvel movie fans. He hasn't shown up yet. But the Hood is a servant of Dormammu, who was the villain of the Doctor Strange movies. Yeah. So maybe he'll show up someday. But I was that guy, but it did not work out. We don't need to talk about that further right now. Who else? What were the other major characters? So we saw War Machine again, not the majorest of characters, but he's back. He's got his magic legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Right.
Spider-Man, Black Panther, the whole Guardians crew. Spider-Man, good part. He had a very nice part in this movie.
Yeah,
and he got to be
he was one of the big fighters in the alien ships.
Mm-hmm. And he got the Iron Spider costume, which is going to make your boy wet his pants with excitement.
It's pretty badass.
It's pretty cool. I guess we saw that in the trailer anyway, but seeing it all come together, I know your boy is going to be so excited. What about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Did you think that Peter Quill looked a little tubby?
I think that
they made fun of him.
I think that he has gained weight since we saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy.
He was really ripped for the first Guardians.
Right. But he doesn't look
sense
fat.
For his character.
He looks good.
So we had Teenage Groot, hilarious as always. Rocket, or as Thor called him, Rabbit.
Rabbit.
That was awesome. He just learned to deal with it too.
I love Teenage Groot.
Teenage Groot was pretty awesome. And he still got one small hero moment.
Yeah. He chopped his arm off.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that they showed so much of what teenagers are like. He's sitting there on his phone the whole time. But then when something like scary or interesting happens, he's like all wide-eyed and still kid-like. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
And didn't do much, really. Like, he wasn't ready to, like, hop into the action. But he did jump in a couple times when he needed to do something. Someone needed to do something. Mm-hmm. That was cool.
Yeah.
So their plot line diverges. We have half of the Guardians go off to nowhere, and half the Guardians go off to, what was that place called?
Nowhere? Oh, you said nowhere.
Nowhere was the giant head. That was the giant floating space head from Guardians 1, where the Collector lives.
Right.
And we knew that the Collector, which was on my blog post, the Collector had the Reality Stone, the Aether, as it was known, the one that was all liquid for a while and went inside Natalie Portman.
Yes.
I know you probably remember that just vaguely because that movie was not that great. Mm-hmm. But he had that stone at the end. He did not have the purple stone, which the Guardians tried to sell to him earlier in the first Guardians movie. That was on Xandar. Xandar fell. We didn't see that happen. That was a little disappointing. Probably wasn't much to see, I guess.
They can't show everything.
It's probably very decisive. Just, we came, we saw, we kicked their ass, we have the gem.
Yeah.
So that happened off screen before they got Thor's ship and Loki went down and all that stuff. So half the Guardians go to nowhere to get the Redstone. A bunch of stuff happens, and then not for much reason. They were too late. The Reality Stone had been obtained, and it was being used to warp everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was a long scene with very little purpose, I guess, except to reveal that Gamora kind of loved her dad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was setting up for... Isn't this when he takes her?
Yes, but that was first a loyalty test. He didn't realize at first he was going to have to sacrifice her. But first he just wanted her back, but wanted to know that she cared about him. So he let her kill the fake him.
Right.
And then she got all sad and was crying and shit.
Uh-huh. And right, but I mean,
it's hard to imagine that I would feel that way. I mean, someone that you've hated forever.
She also wanted his love forever. That's all she ever wanted, was for him to love her.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
I mean, Nebula didn't. Nebula always wanted a sister. So
well,
that was the resolution
because Nebula,
they came to.
She was more tortured and broken than
True.
Gamora ever was. And
Gamora kept winning, so she didn't get tortured as much.
She knew that it was no use in trying to seek love in somebody that could torture her.
Right. She just had hate.
Right. So
I feel like if Nebula had killed fake Thanos, she would not have been crying.
No. She wouldn't. She would be stabbing and stabbing and stabbing.
Oh, yeah. Just keep stabbing. Just keep stabbing.
Uh-huh.
But Gamora, not so much. She's a more emotional being.
Yeah. Well, she's also not part, or at least as much robot.
It's hard to tell.
She's got some metal pieces.
The metal stuff under her skin. I wonder if that was implants or if that was just something her race.
I feel like...
she didn't have those scars in the beginning when she was a little kid.
Right. I feel like we heard part of that story that maybe she had something to enhance while Nebula had everything replaced.
Right. Nebula was almost all robot.
Mm-hmm. Poor thing. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I loved that scene when...
She's being pulled apart.
Uh-huh.
It was visually impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But it does bring up one of these things now. Is love more important? This is another one. Okay, so what we've learned in this movie, the movie asked the question a few times, is love more important than the destruction of half the universe? And the answer appears to be no. Or yes. Yes? The answer appears to be yes. Yes, love is more important than the destruction of half the universe, because seeing Nebula tortured was enough to make Gamora break. And she could have broken and given a different planet. She could have said...
Why didn't she just lie?
She could have just been like, Dantooine. It's on Dantooine. Just like Princess Leia did once.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, Tarkin knew it was a lie right away, but... And maybe Thanos would have too, but maybe not. I mean, it's at least worth a shot. Fucking try it. But instead,
and she did lie at first.
Well, she said Vormir. Oh, well, she said she didn't know where it was.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. But then it turned out that secret had already been outed.
She didn't know that, though. She tried to lie, but then, that's when he threatened torturing more. She didn't get a chance to lie for anywhere else.
Right. But seeing Nebula continue to be tortured, then that was enough to break her. And she gave the real answer so that Nebula could be put back together.
Right.
Even though, if everything else went wrong, this was the one stone of the 6 where Thanos had no friggin' clue where it was. So, no offense to Nebula, but I feel like that was the wrong move.
Yeah, well, and Nebula told her, don't tell him. She was shaking her head like, no, don't tell him.
Yeah. Nebula was right.
Yeah.
Dang you. So love destroys half the universe. We had a similar effect on the planet Titan, where, let's see, who did we have fighting Thanos? We had Spider-Man and Iron Man, Doctor Strange. So 3 powerhouses there. And then we had Star-Lord. Nebula showed up as an extra one. And we had Mantis. Mantis? Is that her name?
Mantis and
Drax. Uh-huh. So 7 people. I don't think I'm missing anybody that was along for that ride.
You got Rocket?
Well, no, Rocket wasn't there.
Oh, he wasn't?
Rocket was with the dwarf, Tyrion.
That's right.
So we had 7 people fighting Thanos. They finally make him succumb thanks to an incredible battle plan where they wind up dropping Mantis on Thanos so that she could put him not to sleep, but to tranquilize him. Mm-hmm. And Peter Quill, fucking Star-Lord, fucks everything up.
Of course.
What a dumbass.
Yeah. This is humans' weakness.
And he did that. Why? Love.
Right.
Gamora.
Passion.
Yeah. At this point, Gamora was already dead. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and Thanos did not let love stop him from destroying half the universe.
Right.
Right. And he succeeded.
Right.
Okay. So Peter Quill fucks everything up when they're almost getting the glove off of Thanos' big fat hand. Right. And then that reignites the battle, which they then lose. Iron Man gets run through, where I'm like, well, finally, that was totally going to happen. Turns out Iron Man's going to be okay, except he's stranded on a fucking planet in the middle of nowhere. But then Doctor Strange gives up the Time Stone.
Well, Thanos just rips it right off his neck.
Well, no, that was a fake. That was the fake necklace. So the Time Stone was still being hidden at that point.
Right. And then he pulls it right out of thin air.
Seemingly. So Doctor Strange says at the beginning of the movie when he was wearing the real necklace and there's a spell on it and it zaps that guy.
Yeah.
So he says, the guy's like, well, I'll kill you first and then I'll take the Time Stone. And Doctor Strange is like, well, you'll find it very hard to break the spell of a dead wizard. Or whatever. Sorcerer. Something. So in theory, if Thanos had killed Doctor Strange, the Time Stone still would have been hidden in whatever little pocket dimension Doctor Strange had hidden it in. Problem solved. Half the universe survives. Mm-hmm. But he's going to kill Iron Man, who Doctor Strange doesn't even like. And he's like, I'll give you the Time Stone. Just let him live. What the fuck?
Again,
you're giving the bad guy all the power that he needs to destroy half the universe. Because of one guy. Mm-hmm. Who, in this case, it's not even love. It's compassion, maybe.
Well, yeah, they didn't really like each other, so...
It definitely didn't love each other.
They admired each other.
The best I can come up with is something Doctor Strange said, I think, at the very end of the movie, that like this was inevitable or something, and now we're finally in the end game. But I'm not buying it. Like, if that stone was hidden, it was hidden. And if Doctor Strange wasn't going to give it up, then it didn't seem quite so inevitable.
I don't remember at what point in this movie we heard somebody saying, we got to take the stone to him, or whatever it was. That was Iron Man, wasn't it? Or who was that?
Iron Man wanted to, he wanted to not divert the ship. He wanted to continue on their path.
He wanted to go start the fight just to get it over with, because he was like, more and more people are going to die.
Right. Well, and if we fight him on his home turf and he's not expecting it, then maybe we got a shot. I think that was kind of his idea. So that's
why... I don't know.
Yeah. But we did see another stone given up just because of that. The Mind Stone, if they had blown it up the first time around when they first thought of the idea, then Thanos wouldn't have known what happened. So at the very end of the movie, when Scarlet Witch blows up the Mind Stone, and he just rewinds time to bring it back, he wouldn't have known how to do that because he wouldn't have known where it was in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's just frustrating. So, I mean, it really just leaves... So, like, 3 of the 6 stones were given up foolishly. The Spirit Stone, kind of. Oh, no, the Spirit Stone was given up foolishly. Yeah, that was one of the three. Spirit, time, mind, given up foolishly. The Space Stone was taken from Loki, and then, of course, we saw whatever fights ensued to get the reality and power stones. Those happened off camera. Whew.
It's a shame nobody killed this guy along the way.
It's a shame Thor didn't aim for his head.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, All right, so let's see. How does this all conclude then? It all comes to the Battle of Wakanda, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
These crazy doggy aliens. And while that battle is going on, Thor is kind of an important part to the ending of this. So he's at Nidavellir. Is that how they said it? Nidavellir? Shit. I don't know. We'll have to see it again. But that's the dwarf forge place because dwarves make everything awesome. Except this time, they're giant dwarves.
Yes, it was awesome.
I knew Peter Dinklage was coming. I didn't expect him to be so big.
He was big.
To not have hands.
He didn't have hands? Oh, that's right. They were all iron or metal.
His hands got taken by Thanos. He was, after they made stuff for Thanos, including the Infinity Gauntlet.
He melted his hands or whatever.
Or cut them off and replaced them with metal hands or something. But he was the last of the dwarves and he's all sad. His demeanor, maybe this is what inspired the email from Lionheart. His demeanor was very similar to Tyrion. He might have even been drunk. It's hard to tell, but he seemed just that kind of shaggy, hopeless, sad sack, everything's fucked kind of personality. But he was able to craft one last weapon. A big axe. I forget what it was called.
After much Thor getting blasted by the star or whatever.
Right. This whole extra subplot, which was cool, but I don't know that Thor needed another hero moment. If we're looking for things, like we could have seen the Battle of Xandar just because it would be cool to see some of those characters again, even though they were going to die. But we could have seen that and not seen Thor hold open a thing so that they can.
It was visually stunning.
But it was very pretty. I can't argue that.
I don't know. I mean, why not? Another thing.
I guess maybe they're thinking more hero moments for one of the main characters instead of the Xandarians.
Maybe.
Like Glenn Close, Peter Serafinowicz. I mean, the great people live there on Xandar. I've seen them again. Just saying.
There were a lot of people in this movie.
Yes. Yes, there were. So Thor's getting this big axe made. Groot gives it a handle. Meanwhile, the Battle of Wakanda is happening. Wakanda's almost impenetrable shield is pretty awesome. But they have to let the bad things in. Because Shuri needs time to work on the Mind Stone. That's what it's all about. Every Wakandan that died in this particular battle.
For one person.
Was all for trying to save Vision's life.
We don't even know what Vision is capable of doing because he never does anything.
Not much. He was not very useful in any of this. Just aggravating. But the battle was amazing. There were the dog thingies. There were the giant spiky wheels. Scarlet Witch got to have a nice hero moment in the middle of all that, which she really needed because the rest of it was just whining on her part.
Aww.
Captain America got to be a badass with two, buckler-sized shields covering his hands. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was
what do you
great
think
work.
of Captain with a beard?
I'm okay with Captain with a beard, but I still think he's going to die. I think he's an old, tired man. I don't think he's going to be around much longer.
What's he going to do in retirement?
Oh, no, I think he'll die.
No. Oh, darn. I was thinking he was just going to get out.
No. His moral code is way too strong. It's as buff as his rippling pecs. So I don't think he can actually retire from being Captain America. I think he can be snuffed out. But that all brings us to the ending of this fucking movie. And I love the movie, but I'm kind of mad at the ending. Thor bursts in out of nowhere. I guess he summoned his own Bifrost.
Yes.
Right. So he bursts in and throws his big old axe right at Thanos' chest and makes what should be a mortal wound. And probably wasn't, but it looked like it would be. And it almost stopped Thanos. But he was still able to flex his arm. This, to grip his... Mm-hmm. He was able to grip his stones. So there's a big flash of light. And we have a quick little scene where he's sort of regretful, but he accomplished what he set out to do. Right? He's talking to, like, baby Gamora. And she's like, did you get what you wanted? And he's like, yeah. What did it cost you? Everything. Mm-hmm. But by everything, maybe he just meant Gamora. Was Gamora his everything? Could he really have loved her that much?
Yeah, I guess that was his everything.
Maybe she was supposed to be the replacement for Mistress Death. Instead of trying to get Mistress Death's attention, because that was the one being in the universe that he was in love with. Maybe he wasn't in love with Gamora, but loved Gamora. And that was maybe sort of his motivation.
Maybe.
Partially, at least. So we get back, and then he teleports away to wherever he wanted to be. Mm-hmm. He might have been back on Titan, I'm not sure. But he teleports away so he can watch a sunset or sunrise. And then, slowly, things go bad. Everyone thinks they kind of maybe won. Oh, the Gauntlet looked like it was destroyed.
Gauntlet was all destroyed.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the first victim was Bucky. He was like, hey, Cap. I
don't feel so good.
And then he fades into nothingness. Now, that was part of Thanos' promise, which was that if he can get all 6 stones, like, he's going to kill half the universe anyway. It's just going to take him a while. But if he gets all the stones, he will kill half the universe in an instant, and they will cease to exist. They will suffer a painless end.
Mm-hmm.
So that started happening.
Right.
That started happening to Bucky. Black Panther, T'Challa went away. God, let me look back at the cast list here.
Right quick, you're like, what just happened? Did they just like
It was a lot to take in. It was a lot to take in.
Are they Ash?
Let's run through the cast. Okay, Tony Stark. He's fine.
Fluffy Ash.
Don't breathe them in. Ugh.
Right, you're breathing in people.
I mean, I know dust is like 70% skin, but this is taking things to an extreme.
It's 100%.
100%
you win.
Bucky. I'm sorry, Bucky. All right, so Tony Stark, he's okay. Thor, he's okay. So the universe like randomly picked 50% of the people and wiped out a lot of the Avengers in the process. Bruce Banner, I believe he's okay. Though I actually don't quite remember because he was...
Maybe they didn't... I don't know.
I think he's okay. Steve Rogers, he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So right away, Iron Man and Captain America are still all right. And they're the 2 people I said were doomed. So
weird.
Hooray for me. Black Widow, she's okay. I believe. War Machine, James Rhodes. I honestly don't remember. Doctor Strange, he's okay, isn't he?
Ugh.
Actually, is he? Fuck, I don't remember that either. No, maybe he's not.
I think he's okay.
I think he went away. I think Tony Stark is alone on a planet.
Yeah, I think...
We need to see this again. Spider-Man, Gonzo. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And that is where your son is going to suck back up all the pee he peed himself with earlier out of sadness. He's going to be devastated watching Spider-Man die.
And then he'll pee all over the movie.
His looked more painful than the others. Like he was fighting, he was trying to like fight to stay existing. I don't want to go. It was very similar to
Carl.
No, I was thinking, that's interesting though. I was thinking of one of the doctors. I can't remember if it was Matt Smith or the awesome one. Damn it. Never mind. What am I? But he had like a speech like, I don't want to go. And then he was dying and then he regenerated.
He was the slowest dying guy.
Yeah. Spider-Man took the longest to die. To vaporize.
He just had that spirit that wouldn't die.
Yeah. Gamora's dead. Nebula? I don't remember seeing her vaporize.
I think she's alive.
And she's not really alive anyway, almost. I mean, she's kind of alive.
Right,
but
which is why I think she lived.
Loki, well, he died. Vision. So Vision got the stone ripped out of his head. He never needed to vaporize because he just died.
Mm-hmm. They pulled part of his brain out with that.
Scarlet Witch vaporized.
Mm-hmm.
Falcon vaporized.
At least she's relieved of the suffering.
Let's see. Heimdall's dead. Okoye, she's fine. She watched Black Panther die right in front of her.
Yes.
We don't know about Wong. He's Doctor Strange's second in command dude.
Oh, I like that guy.
He was just hanging out in Sanctum Sanctorum for the whole movie because someone had to be there. So he's probably fine, I guess. Mantis. Gone, right?
Mantis.
She went away too, I believe. Drax went away.
Yeah.
Groot went away, but not Rocket. Right?
Right.
Whew.
Seems like more than half.
Star-Lord, he's gone. I believe he turned to ash. Shuri, we did not see anything happen to her. She got like knocked around when the one guy broke into Vision's Shuri's little science room. So she got knocked out, but I don't think she died, and I don't think she vaporized. Well, let's talk about the implications of that in a second. So I think that was all the big characters. Most of them are gone. I think it's over half, easily.
Seems so.
So what happens next? What does your gut say? There's a part 2 to this.
My gut says.
And in the middle of the part 2 to this. Oh, talk about the post-credit scene while I look something up.
Post-credit scene was, I don't remember.
It was Samuel Jackson.
Oh, they were driving down the street.
Right.
And then what happened?
Well, basically, him and Kobe Smulders vaporized. I, of course, don't remember their names right off the top of my head because I suck at this. Nick Fury. And then whatever Kobe Smulders' name is. You know her from How I Met Your Mother.
Continue.
Okay, maybe you don't. They vaporized. But he hit a little pager on his way out.
Right. That's right. There was a little call that was made to somewhere. Some kind of signal was sent. Now, if he was on Earth... Okay. So confusing. Yes. Never mind.
If who was on Earth?
Nick Fury.
Well, he was definitely on Earth.
I know. I was just thinking, for some reason, I was thinking Thanos wasn't on Earth. Or it was somewhere else that he exploded. Or snapped his fingers at.
I'm trying to get the release schedule for the next movies. Phase 1. No. Maybe it's not... this. Okay, so this movie was the official end of Phase 3 of the MCU. Future. Okay, so July. Not that far from now, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. They were not involved in this movie at all, which was a little surprising. But all we know so far is there's something about Ant-Man being on house arrest. He got himself in trouble. Someone mentioned that during the movie. Then Captain Marvel, March 2019. And then the Avengers sequel, which is May 2019. So a year from now. We have to wait a fucking year.
Well, it's just like all the other shows we watch.
I don't care anymore. I just want it. But then after that, what's on the slate is July 2019 Spider-Man movie, the sequel to Homecoming, and then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in 2020 sometime. There might be other movies in the middle of all that. I don't know. But that's what's been announced. So with that said, where do we go from here?
Well, clearly they're going to use the time stone to turn back time. If I could turn back time.
You might think so, but how do they get the stones?
They just pull it out of the damaged gauntlet.
How do they get to the gauntlet? We don't even know where Thanos is.
Somebody was there with it.
Well, Thanos went away with it. I'm pretty sure.
Did he take it?
He had it with him.
I don't know. Somebody's got to go steal it.
So you're saying we're going to get some people back?
Maybe it's going to be Rabbit.
He's a good thief.
Mm-hmm.
God, I mean, Thor
clearly
got his eye back in the worst way. Ugh.
He didn't even clean that shit.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying some of these characters are coming back?
I mean, don't they have to?
Yeah, I think they have to. They just decimated their own cinematic universe. And while I was expecting some deaths, and I think Loki's was well-timed, I think Iron Man almost dying was well-timed, but he should have just died. They can't. So the people I was saying, and again, I regret not putting this into writing, but the people I've been saying to, like, Jonathan and Gage, our boys, that I've been saying to them, they have, like, script immunity. Spider-Man can't die because he's got another movie in the works. Black Panther can't die because they just launched his franchise and it's the biggest fucking thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the two biggest ones, I think. The Guardians, I mean, you can't kill all of them, but you could get rid of some. I think there's precedent in the comic books for that to be sort of a rotating roster.
Yeah, you can certainly replace Groot.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they could get another thing. Bush or something.
Talking Bush. The singing Bush from Three Amigos. He comes in and replaces Groot. So we have characters where we know there's stuff coming. I guess I said the same about Ant-Man and Captain Marvel. I thought they were going to be in this movie and they weren't. So, okay. But they have to be able to bring at least some of these characters back.
Yeah, I think so. So somebody's got to use the time stone. That's the only way you can do that.
So the big plot of part 2 is going to be getting to Thanos, figuring out where Thanos is. Then step 2, getting there, because they don't really have great means of transportation.
Well, the ship is still available from Guardians.
No, that's on planet Titan.
Oh.
Which I guess is how Tony could get back to Earth with the Guardian ship. Okay, I hadn't thought of that. Good point. And then beating Thanos for this time around, which Thor would seemingly be an important part of. And then figuring out how to undo the damage caused.
Right. Well, I mean, if you turn back time.
If you find a way.
Everything is reset.
Yeah, I guess so. And is that a good thing?
Well, in whose perspective? For their world? For getting all those people back after you had just gotten rid of them all? Okay, so what's going to happen to the world, say, in reality, if half of us disappeared?
Well, Thanos made a pretty good argument for it. You know, he used Gamora's planet as an example. He said, we killed half of everybody there, and, you know, you were in poverty, you were starving all the time, most of the world was, you guys were running out of resources, pretty soon everyone was going to die, and he also told the story of his own planet, where everybody did die, because they wouldn't listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, you know, we killed half of everybody, and now it's like a paradise. Everyone's prospering, no one's ever hungry, and everybody loves each other, and it's wonderful. Which could be a combination of, you know, one half of that is now resources are widely available because people aren't choking out the system, and then part 2 is a sociological phenomenon where when something horrible happens to your society, people bond over that. And, you know, crime goes down and everyone's nicer to each other for a while, which we've seen happen here on Earth. So I guess it could be a combination of those two things that led to a lasting change in society where everyone's okay now. And if half of everybody disappeared on Earth, yeah, it'd be kind of the same thing. I think we'd be okay, especially if everyone died painlessly. We could just scoop them up and put them in an urn.
But what would happen to our economy as it is? It would be, you know, our government, we would have to reform.
There's a period of upheaval no matter what happens in those kind of circumstances. Sure.
That would be great though, right?
The economy would take a while to figure itself out, I'm sure.
Unless, of course, the half of the people that died were the good people.
But we still have money, and like everybody would have to have a job. And then maybe those few people that literally can't have jobs, even the most conservative among us, wouldn't be opposed to giving them a few bucks and keeping them, you know, comfortable or something. Maybe. Maybe not, actually. But
they'd be like, more money for us!
But if half the planet disappeared, it would be rough times for a while. But overall, yeah, I think people would actually prosper. I was just saying that the other day when we were talking about Ready Player One and how everyone is kind of just going into their devices and forgetting about human contact. And what did I say there? And you thought about it and you said I was right. I said, there's too many people on the earth. If we have a generation that gets so involved in electronics and virtual reality that they stop procreating, that'll be okay. I mean, not everybody, obviously, but if a big chunk of the population just stops having babies for a while, that's all right. Because we have people living longer, more people are being born than are dying. Mm-hmm. So overcrowding does become a problem, at least in certain areas of the world. And that hurts the economy and food supplies and the way we consume our resources. That's the thing. Like, it's really hard to argue with Thanos.
Right. He's totally right.
I just don't want to, I don't want him to crush my skull with his big hand.
Well, if he might just snap the finger.
He might, and I could vaporize painlessly, I guess. But that wouldn't be so bad, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
But the Avengers will not take that for an answer.
They deserve to live.
They're going to fix it.
Everybody's equal.
Yeah, well, that's what they're going to try to prove. I still think they fucked up big time all over the place. But then, so I think Doctor Strange's idea was like, he's going to get the stones eventually anyway, so just let him destroy half the universe, and then we'll work on fixing it. I think that was what he was getting at.
Really?
I think, yeah.
Wow. It's kind of cold-blooded.
Well, that's Doctor Strange. He's a very pragmatic kind of guy.
He must know he's right also.
Well, he did see the future. Maybe he knows something that he won't be able to tell us because he no longer exists. Mm. What a shame that is. So like, if Iron Man dies, there are replacements for him in the comic book. Most recently, it's been a teenage girl who took on the mantle. You could actually even have this version of Spider-Man take on the mantle. Now, that's assuming they bring everybody back, which of course they will, or at least almost everybody. I don't know. I don't think they'll bring Loki and Gamora back because they died. They didn't get vaporized. It's not the same kind of consequence, right? But if Iron Man dies, as I predicted, I think he will still die. He's replaceable, as far as comic book lore goes. If Captain America dies, which was the other one I'm pretty sure is on his way out, he's very replaceable. Because in the comics, the Captain America mantle, costume, shield, whatever, has been held by both the guy that's Falcon and Bucky. Both of those guys just turned to ash. So if Cap brings both of them back, and then he dies in the process of whatever big battles are to come, kind of makes sense. So I feel like Marvel is just trying to do a big end around and try to trick us, but it's almost too obvious of a trick. They got rid of too many major players. Maybe that's good. Maybe that'll keep your son from falling into deep despair over seeing Spider-Man die.
Well, I don't think he's old enough to come to that conclusion himself. We'll have to tell him that.
Yeah, we can talk him off the ledge.
Yeah.
Hopefully not a literal one. Spider-Man, I can't live without you. So, and we know Spider-Man's got a movie coming up, so he's totally coming back. Black Panther, the one thing that I think is going to be kind of neat, I'm sure they're going to bring T'Challa back. But in the meantime, I think we're going to get Shuri. Because in the comic books, Shuri was Black Panther at some point in comic book history. So I think that would be a pretty neat thing to bring into Avengers, Infinity War Part 2, whatever they wind up calling it.
Yes, that would be neat.
She's awesome.
She's smart.
She's funny. She's smart and funny. What more could you ask for? She doesn't seem very ripped, but if she can find one of them flowers, doesn't really matter.
Right.
She'll be super strong anyway.
I'm sure she's working on growing more.
Someone's got to be. That cannot be the end of the Black Panther flower. Who else? Who else strikes out at you? Thor? What do you think? Is he going to make it through this?
Oh.
He's also replaceable. He's technically replaceable.
Right. And how many more movies can he do as himself?
There have been other characters that have been able to wield Mjolnir. Mjolnir's still gone, but assuming this axe has the same general idea, one of them could be Jane.
Right. One was a female Thor.
Right.
Was it Jane?
Yeah. Jane Evans? Was that her name? She was Thor at one point. And then there have been some cosmic creatures that had the right moral center to be able to wield Mjolnir. I guess, get some of the powers of Thor temporarily. So there are definitely options.
It's just or maybe they'll just retire him completely.
Well, I think you could give some of these characters a break since you have so many others now. If you're building franchises on Ant-Man and Scarlet Witch and does Vision come back in all this? I wouldn't. I don't think he comes back.
Not unless he's got some kind of thing to do, because again, he's not doing much.
I'm okay with him being just dead. We still got Hulk. I think Hulk would keep sticking around a little bit. At least maybe someday they'll figure out how to give him his own movie, because the rights for that are owned by Universal. It's all sticky. Like, he can be in movies where he's not the main character, but he can't be in his own movie.
I think that's good for him, though.
Probably, because it is a lot of CGI as like the main character. The what was that? The Ed Norton movie? Yeah, the Ed Norton movie where at the end it's just giant CG monster fighting giant CG monster with absolutely no sign of humanity in any of that. That was a problem for other stuff. The first Iron Man movie had the same thing, except they were robots instead of monsters. I don't like that. I think we need to mix it up a little bit, have the CG stuff fight human stuff and keep it all. But
right, that's what makes it feel real.
So it's okay if Hulk doesn't have his own movie. But they've got so many up and coming characters, Black Panther, as we were saying, and Captain Marvel, who's just starting. With all these characters, I think you could have a period where no one picks up the mantle just yet for Captain America and Thor and Iron Man, but then you can still explain it eventually. I think that'll be great.
I agree.
What if like Pepper Potts is secretly pregnant? She didn't tell Tony. And then she has a kid, and then like 10 years later, because this took 10 years to get there, 10 years later, their kid starts tinkering around and he becomes Iron Man.
What if Pepper Potts becomes Iron Man?
Oh, I hope not. That's a lot of Gwyneth.
Well,
but I suppose it's possible. We still have Rhodey.
What's wrong with Gwyneth?
She's crazy.
Okay.
Goop. She's the goop lady, babe.
I know.
She's the one with the vagina eggs and shit. And like magical energy stickers that you put on your body to center your chakras or some fucking shit.
Maybe it works.
Yeah, maybe. Anything's possible. So that's where we're at. Now we just got to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And apparently Ant-Man and the Wasp isn't going to touch on any of this. Kind of a bummer. In fact, Captain Marvel might not touch on any of this. I think that movie's supposed to be like Wonder Woman and take place way in the past. Like in the 70s or something.
Really?
Maybe the 80s. Yeah.
So... who knows? I just don't know. Something's going to be leaked eventually, and then we'll know.
Well, they could at least give us a title of part 2. That'd be cool. It might give us some ideas. Boy, what an exhausting movie.
Yeah, it was, but it was great.
I had to pee so bad afterwards.
Me too.
I was going to go. Really, really very, very awesome. And truly, like, averages matter and number of votes matters. But right now, with 150,000 votes in on the Internet Movie Database, Avengers Infinity War has a 9.1, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's got to put it in, like, the top 10 of all-time movies. I don't know where that list is on their mobile app, but well, you know what's the number 1 movie of all time?
What?
Shawshank Redemption.
Really? Still? That's interesting. Still.
And that has a 9.3 out of 10.
What is Black Panther?
You think? Well, I don't think Black Panther got as well rated. I think people still tried to knock it down, even though it was awesome. Black Panther's IMDb user rating, with 240,000 votes, was a 7.7.
Really?
Really.
Psh.
So Infinity War seems almost untouchable.
Sure does.
Which, I mean, I might give it a 9. I wouldn't give it a 10. But somewhere in like the 8 to 9 range, because the ending was really kind of a letdown. Like it was, I think it's just too big of a tell. You just got rid of too many of your next guard to make it feel like the stakes are actually there.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. I'm just speculating.
That's my thought,
I think they're all coming back.
I think they're going to turn back time.
We don't have a whole lot of proof, but I think they're all coming back. All of them. All right.
Maybe Superman will fly over from the other universe and turn the world back.
Zip around the Earth backwards. Yeah. That'd
Yeah.
be cool. Oh, that'd probably be the awesomest death knell for the DC cinematic universe. That'd be it. They're done after that, but it'd be funny. A funny way to go out. Gosh, that was over an hour. I did not think we were going to talk about it quite that long.
Well,
But it was a hell of a lot to talk about.
yeah.
We could probably talk about more. We really didn't get into a lot of the details. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Hit us up on the social medias. We're on Twitter, at Kid Free Weekend, and Facebook, The Kid Free Weekend. And you can email us at thekidfreeweekend@gmail.com. Of course, we have the website, potofthrones.com, which I'm still working on, but it's getting better and better and better, I think.
Good job.
Thanks. And we'll talk more about the website and other stuff later tonight when we podcast about Westworld Season 2, Episode 2.
Yep.
Big time. So much going on.
Yep.
Right. Well, Cletus, thanks for podcasting with me.
Yep.